Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. This is week number 40, and I want to remind you again that we're getting close to Christmas, and our books are excellent gifts. I'm not trying to get you to buy them for profits for me, but I'm really trying to get you to buy them because they change the lives of people who read the books. They wind up helping people to become friends of God and conversational with God every day. So you can Google Barnes & Noble or Amazon and Google the title of the books. The title of the books is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles, Book 1 and Book 2. Again, Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Or you can go to our website, which is WCAT, that's WCAT, radio.com/miracles/. Okay, the first miracle story I want to tell you about today is something many of you probably already heard about, and maybe you watched it on TV on October 31st of the year 2020. It was the beatification of Father Michael McGivney, who was a Connecticut priest, born in Waterbury, Connecticut, grew up in the Waterbury-Thomaston area, became a priest, was the pastor at a church in New Haven, St. Mary's in New Haven. And the beatification happened on October 31st, 2020. And for those of you who don't know, the beatification is a ceremony where the church goes through a process of many years of looking for evidence that Father McGivney was a saint. In other words, they interview a lot of people, they check a lot of records, they look for a lot of evidence to indicate that he was a saint, like the other 10,000 saints in history that the church has canonized and said that they were saints. And so a lot of time was spent over the last 130 years getting evidence that Father Michael McGivney was a saint. And the church has it requires 2 miracles to be proven to be the result of Father Michael McGivney or anybody that's going to be canonized as saint. So if someone's going to be canonized as saint and called a saint ad infinitum in history now, forever, be called a saint, it's necessary that we can see 2 miracles clearly coming from, say, the person who now is assumed to be in heaven at the right hand of God, And as a friend of God in heaven, saints are able to, by the grace of God, work miracles after they've arrived in heaven to show us, and it's God allowing us to see that these people are saints, and God wants us to have them canonized. I guess if God does not allow them to work miracles from heaven, then it's because God doesn't want us to call a certain person a saint, even though they might very well be. There must be billions and billions of saints in heaven that we don't know anything about, and we only have 10,000 people classified as saints over the last 2,000 years. But in any event, we did get one miracle that did happen, and we're waiting for the second one in order to call him a saint. So he has been beatified, which means he's almost a saint, and once we see two miracles, then he will be canonized. And the miracle story, you can watch it on EWTN TV archives. That's EWTN TV, that network, EWTN. You can look in their archives if you Google it, and you can watch the beatification ceremony. And on that ceremony, there was a father, a member of the Knights of Columbus, because Father McGivney was the founder of the Knights of Columbus. And one of the men, who is a knight, had a wonderful miracle in his family. And what happened was, something like 6 years ago, before the year of 2020, 6 years ago, his wife was pregnant, and they went to the doctor for evaluations, and the doctor found out that the child wasn't going to live through the 9 months of pregnancy. The child had some illness or disease, and the doctor had spotted it. And with the doctor's experience of something like 20 years, the doctor advised the parents that based on all of the historical evidence of 20 years, this particular disease results in death before the child is full term, before the child is born, and therefore many parents have chosen to have the child aborted rather than wait 9 months, and the baby was going to die before birth anyway. So the doctor in particular, who was an expert in this field, recommended abortion. Well, the man who's a member of the Knights of Columbus and his wife, they're both Catholics, and Catholics do not believe in having abortions. And so they prayed about it, and they wound up asking many people, many of their friends, etc., because they knew about the process for Michael McGivney, that we were looking for miracles, and so they thought this might be a good way to do this. They would get a miracle by the baby being healed and born full term, and Michael McGivney would have one of the miracles that we need to have two miracles in order to call him a miracle. And so that's what they decided to do. They asked many people, and certainly all of their friends and family, but the Knights of Columbus, about a million members, were also asked to pray for this miracle. And so many Knights of Columbus out of the million and their families started praying for this miracle. And sure enough, the baby did survive and was born full term after 9 months. Miracle of miracles and coincidence of coincidence. Notice this. Michael McGivney, he died on a certain date, and the church usually, when they canonize someone, they celebrate every year on their death date, not their birth date, but the day that they died. That becomes the day that we celebrate their canonization as being a saint. And that's because on the day they died, that's the day they went to heaven. Well, this baby was born 130 years to the actual day, the actual calendar day. In other words, the child was born on the same calendar day that Michael McGivney had died 130 years ago. And that's a coincidence par excellence, especially when you're looking for miracles and evidence from heaven and evidence from God. The father's name is Daniel Shakel, spelled Schachle, Shakel, Daniel Shakel, and you can Google that, Daniel Shakel, maybe on YouTube, and you can actually listen to his speech. It runs about 10 or so minutes, or if you find the beatification on EWTN, you'll You'll find it about halfway through the beatification process, halfway through that tape. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Daniel Shakel explained this miracle very precisely, very carefully. You can tell that Daniel Shakel has tremendous faith in God and is accustomed to seeing miracles for sure, and feels very blessed, and his whole family feels very blessed. Daniel Shakel, has helped all of us to have a blessing because of his great faith and his wife's great faith. It's a very moving lecture. I guarantee you will have tears of great emotion as you listen to Daniel explain how he and his wife went through this process and how grateful they are and how touched by God they are. You will certainly come away from this story being very confident there certainly is a God in heaven, and he certainly does allow saints in heaven to work miracles. I guess the perfect way to say it is God works a miracle for us on behalf of the saint that we are trying to call a saint. I guess that's the best way to say it. All miracles come from God. But the prayers sent to Father McGivney in heaven were then by Father McGivney delivered to God as requests for this miracle, and God worked a miracle in this process. So we need one more miracle, and if you are involved in such a thing, you can let the Knights of Columbus know that if you pray to Father McGivney to get the second miracle, and he delivers the messages and prayers to God, and you do get a miracle, you can let the Knights of Columbus know, because they need one more miracle so they can call Father Michael McGivney a Connecticut saint, and he'll be the first Catholic priest in the United States canonized as a saint. Our next coincidence miracle has to do with a day where I was passing out cards about our books and advertising them, telling people about the books, handing out these little cards. And I came upon two ladies that were in at the beach, actually, along the boardwalk. And I passed out the cards, and they asked about the books, and I started talking about it. We had a nice, long discussion. They asked a lot of questions. They asked me to share some miracle stories with them, and they shared some stories with me as well. And we were talking a lot about Jesus, and we were talking about Jesus' mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary. We were having this discussion about a lot of things, about faith and belief and the Bible, and so the Blessed Virgin Mary came up, and Jesus came up for sure. And then I was asked to ask them their names, so I said, what are your names? And one of them was Erica, and the other one was Christine. And I know the meaning of that. I mean, Erica is the female form of king, so Erica means queen, and Christine obviously is a derivative of the name of Christ. So being inspired to ask their name brought about this other miracle. Their names reflected the topics we were talking about. Then the next thing that happened was I started asking them about, do you feel each other's pain? When one person is sick, does the other person show symptoms? And they said, absolutely. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. One twin said they always make their very best decisions when they check with the other twin first to get their opinion and their advice. I've learned a lot by talking to twins over many, many years now. They depend on each other. They rely on each other. They ask each other for advice. They get the best advice from each other. And that's what we're supposed to do with Jesus. We're supposed to treat him like our twin. Ask him things. Ask him for inspirations. Ask him for his opinion. Ask for his directions. And like the other twins we just talked about, we'll get answers from God Almighty, and we'll be doing the right things. So if you want to make the best decisions, certainly the best thing to do is to ask God for inspirations. And that's why we wrote two books. We wrote two books to tell people how to do that. And there's 100 miracle stories in each book about the help and assistance I've been given for many, many years. I hope you all experience at least one coincidence miracle every day for the rest of the week. And I'll talk to you again next week. Goodbye.